We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday, and we're welcoming back Old Soul. She was on one of the TikTok lives with us, but now it's just me and Old Soul. She's back
Yeah.
after a couple of weeks overseas in Europe, and Old, you seem a little tired, little annoyed, little a lot of different things. The emotions are kind of rushing through you now after this long trek overseas.
Yeah, I think I'm like in good company because the wild child is kind of like the same way. Like when you travel, like for me, like seeing it through like her eyes of seeing it for the first time was like the best part. Um, and she's kind of like the same way too. You know, you go on vacation, it goes by quick. And then when you
Yeah.
come back home, you gotta get hit with that reality check. But you know, it's kind of crazy. She did tell me to tell everybody about the alcohol laws and overseas. So I
Okay.
believe in the UK, I can't say for sure, but it was like, I want to say 16. And in Germany, it's like depending on your age, the type of alcohol you could drink. So I believe between like 14 and like 17, you can drink like wine coolers, spritzers, wine, that type of thing, but you can't drink any hard alcohol until like you're
Right.
18. And then at that point, you know, you can get your tequila and rum and all that other kind of stuff. And so she was just saying like one of the because some of the other kids were there too, and my niece was like hey, I'm just gonna have a sip of wine, and she was trying to tell me like, hey, we're in another country, we got to go by their laws. I'm like, don't think about it, I don't want you sipping nothing. And she was saying how weird it is to see like people her age able to drink. And one of the other girls from the program, she was like, you know, it's so weird, it's like in America, like kids younger than you have like guns and stuff. So
Yeah.
she was like, you know, when I think about it, that is kind of weird. You know, like if I could carry a weapon or, you know, all this other stuff, then why can't I have like a glass of wine after I had a hard day at school or something? And yeah, she was like, she didn't drink, but she was kind of like seeing America different once you step outside of it. Even like their classrooms, we went to like one of the schools on base, and we were like doing like a little tour and stuff, and they have like regular desks, and this was kind of like a some kind of engineering computer class or something. And she's like, where are the computers? But on the desk, it actually like raises up, and then the computer screens are like right there. And then you can put
Wow.
the computer back down so you can write on the desk, take your test and all that stuff. And she was just like, why we don't have stuff like this? She was so, like so impressed. So I'm hoping that's going to be an option for her. I texted you when she had her breakdown with Elon Musk, you know, over there amping up the Nazi party. And that was like the only that was only bad day that we had. Other than that, we had a good time.
Well, let's remind folks why you went over there in the first place. I mean, the reason you went over to Europe was largely due to the wild child. That's why you went over there.
Yeah, she wants wanted. I don't think, you know, she's focused on that anymore to going into the military. But
Right.
once she won the election, I don't see how anyone could trust their children under his leadership, you know.
Absolutely.
So I did, you know a couple of people. My brother's ex-wife is still in Germany with my nieces and nephews. So I was able to get an in to get her the study abroad program so she can go there and go to school. Because if she goes to school here in the US, we would support her through it. But it would be so expensive for her to do that. So she can go there, get her education, see the world a little bit. Once a year in that program, they take a trip, so I'm thinking like this upcoming trip is supposed to be like Japan or something like that. So she'll be able to get to travel, study, you know, all that stuff. So I was like, whatever strings I can pull, you gonna go to school, girl. So
Well,
yeah,
part of this was because you thought she'd be safer over there. She's a young woman who went
yeah,
through the whole reproductive uh, um, medical treatments, the abortion, and she's gone through a lot of stuff with her family back in her
yeah,
home state. And it seemed like nothing was going her way until she ran into you, and she's changed things out dramatically. But you felt with Donald Trump coming in, a young woman, young girl like this, in her current situation, she was safer in Europe if that was an option.
yeah. She's safer outside of America. period. Um, I have like this group text that I do with other like young girls and stuff. And before we started filming, and that's like why my energy is low. But you know, they get those threats of mass rapes and stuff, and especially
Right.
in those red Bible Belt areas, a lot of those politicians are like fighting to lower the age of consent, and then these high control groups. And so these guys know if they get one of the girls in the church pregnant, their parents is going to make them get married. So you can
Right.
kind of like, I guess, be a legal pedophile. That's how I'm looking at it. But they're kind of like trying to prepare themselves for it. So they were doing stuff like dyeing their hair a different color, getting like brown contact lenses and stuff because they felt like blonde hair, blue eyes is what they're going for because that's like the pure race that they're looking at. So they were saying if they make themselves look different, maybe they won't be targeted. So,
Wow, that's absolutely horrifying and sad that these young women, young girls even have to consider that. We have to somehow less make us less attractive or less attractive to those fucking idiots in order to keep protected and to stay safe. That's ridiculous. That should not be in this country.
yeah, one of the girls, she just said that. She was like, you know, we could probably like gain some weight for a little bit. We could always like exercise and lose it later. And that's just the stuff that they're saying and talking about, the ideas that they have is all like the mind of abuse victims. Like you do think like that. You try to do everything you can to make yourself not be attracted to the opposite sex, and you think they're going to target you.
Wow.
So that kind of like kill my vibe a little bit.
I'm curious. I know you talk to people over in Europe, not because you told me you talk to people in Europe. It's just because I know you and you talk to a lot of people over there. I'm
Yeah,
wondering what did you find the perspective of people in Europe regarding what's going on in the United States? What did you sense from those folks?
flabbergasted.
Really?
They were astonished. They weren't really. The wild child, her biggest thing was like, they're gonna hear my southern accent. They're gonna see I'm a white girl from America. They're gonna think that I'm a Trump supporter. I'm like, they're not gonna judge you like that. You'll be all right. And they did it. They just had more questions than anything. You know, they if there's a lot of people like, did he steal the election? Like they come up with like, you know how you see people like, you know what, this could still happen, that could still happen. You know, the Democrats are gonna step in at the last minute. That's the same mentality that they have there. Like he must have cheated. There's got to be some way to fix that because we don't even understand what the ripple effect of this presidency is going to be. There's other countries that's kind of like amping up, like they military. They're having like more drills and stuff than they would have previously. They know that America is not a trusted ally anymore.
Right.
Um, and the biggest fear right now for them is Trump coming in and backing Putin and going against our NATO allies. So a lot of information, it can't be shared with the United States right now because he can't be trusted for good reason.
Right.
Um, I think they're more like baffled, bewildered, and shocked more than anything. It's just like a lot of questions since they hear your American accent. It's just a lot of questions that they have that we don't have to answer to those questions. So
Well, I know these other countries are concerned and worried. I know Canada is because what happens here does impact other countries around the world. There are still a lot of people talking about the things we talked about. Well, something's going to happen at the last moment. Donald Trump will not be inaugurated, and I know there's a lot of people that are still saying that.
yeah,
My answer to that is, God, I hope you're right, but I just don't see that happening with the likes of the Democrats and the DOJ. However, there are a couple things happening that kind of further along those conspiracy theories. You heard
yeah,
everybody talk about you,
yeah. I wanted to
you heard
say
it. Go
with
ahead.
Elon Musk and his ties to the Nazi Party in Germany. So in Germany, I've learned that certain speech you can't say. So you can't like quote Hitler speeches. You can't do that salute that they used to do. There's like certain things you can't do and you can't say. period.
Right.
You get arrested, you get fines, all of that stuff. So what Trump is, I'm not Trump, but what Elon Musk is doing is amplifying those people on his platform. In
Right.
addition to that, when they get arrested or when they get their fines, he's bailing them out and paying their fines for them. So there's no punishment right now because they have him stepping in and going to their defense. In addition to that, there's an election coming up in February, and the Nazi Party right now is like number two.
Right.
The
What
Elon,
I was getting at was, all those people talking about something's going to happen at the last minute. And I think you and I agree that we're not that confident in Democrats or the DOJ. That said, that whole executive order by Donald Trump, kept bringing that up, thinking that it was going to do something. Well, while you were away, they did implement that executive order. Was it 14838 or something like that? And it's about meddling from foreign countries in the election. And it went so far with that executive order that Russia and Iran were sanctioned for their activities in the last election. So now everybody's going, oh my God, that means it's coming. That means it's coming. But if you read that executive order, it has nothing to do with anything but the foreign countries. It doesn't have to do with the candidates or anything in the United States. It's just about dealing with people in foreign countries. Now, that said, there is that whole 14th Amendment thing too, and that has some issues. So if something was to occur, and I'm not convinced it's true, you would have to somehow combine those two things, the executive order and the 14th Amendment. We're getting down to nut cutting time here. So if they're going to do something, if something's going to be pulled out of their asses, it better happen pretty quick. But there's some interesting things happening too. Did you hear that Donald Trump is having a victory rally on January 19th, the day before the inauguration? That seems really strange to me. And people are trying to make that out to be something that shows he knows he's going to be held out of the inauguration, so he wants to get all the people there. I happen to think it has more with his narcissism. Remember when he had his first inauguration, the biggest ever, and then the video came out and it wasn't even close to the biggest ever. It was actually pretty poorly attended. I'm thinking he
yeah,
wants to get everybody out there for a pregame and then send them over to the inauguration so he can prove he's the most popular human in history. But the thing about it is with all this stuff going on, I know there's a lot of people desperate to not have Donald Trump inaugurated. They will grab anything that they can get. And I hope there's something, but I know how this story goes because we watched the Democrats for the last 4 years.
yeah.
Um, are you heard a lot about that in Europe too? People were talking about that prospect of something at the last minute happening.
Yeah, and I've said this before, and I don't want to like burst anybody's bubble. But I said it to everyone there, and I'll say the same thing here. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, but I don't see it happening because it's not that we don't have roadblocks, and it's not that we don't have like procedures in place. It's not like we are incapable of dealing with this. It's that they choose not to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they would sit here and allow Trump to take it this far up until like the 11th hour before they try to do something. I just kind of, especially like tomorrow, they're going through the House process for the speakership.
Yeah.
You're already seeing that ball rolling. And I don't want to diminish what anybody is thinking or kill their hope, but I think that it's a good time to start planning and facing reality because it's coming. And so just waiting till the last minute and then having to process that because we've had since November 5th to process what's happening. And I do believe people should be allowed to go through that process and take as much time as they need, but we can't afford to do that. Well, I know for me and my community, we can't afford to do that. So we have to
Well,
like make plans now and we have to act now. Waiting
absolutely.
is kind of,
Uh,
it doesn't make sense to wait.
Well, the thing about it is everything in this world, everything in this country, especially when it involves Donald Trump, there's something we're focused on, and then there's a distraction, and then there's another distraction, and we forget about the first thing, and we've got to get out of that. We've got to stop looking for the shiny object. We actually have to act on everything that's a problem. You mentioned actually when people hear this podcast, it will be the third. So today is when they're going to be bringing in the new Congress and seat the new Congress and give them the oath of office. But nothing can be done. Zero can be done until they have a Speaker of the House. Now, we know how divided the Republicans are. We know there are some Republicans even saying, I'm not voting for Mike Johnson, and he can't afford to lose more than 2 votes. And that's a
Yeah.
lot to ask in a divided House of Representatives on the Republican side. Um, so a lot of people are expecting him not to be elected or to be voted out. So much so that Donald Trump is on his hands and knees begging representatives that he's threatened before, like Chip Roy, to please vote for Mike Johnson. Please vote for Mike Johnson. Had nothing to do with the fact that he likes Mike Johnson. He doesn't like Mike Johnson. He's afraid that it's going to mess up his inauguration. It's all about Donald Trump. Um, when you say you feel it all falling into place, are you under the feeling that, in spite of what's all been said, that Donald Trump will get his way and they'll all vote for Mike
Well,
Johnson?
yeah, I think that, the deal that Trump is going to make because he's loyal to no man. I
Right.
think the deal that he's going to make is like, okay, as long as he is in place so that I can have my parties, then y'all can do whatever you want to do after that. I really do
Right.
think that's what's going to go behind the scenes. I know that they're trying to put, some rules in place to where they can't just get rid of him like that. Personally, I think it might be some theatrics and a little drama for a couple of days, but trust me, before Trump is sworn in, they'll have that taken care of. He doesn't care. He just don't want his party interrupted. Like don't rain during my party, and he having a party outside of the park type stuff. Um, I think that's what's going to happen, and yeah, everybody's going to go through this roller coaster ride. I'm not going to go through it, but I think a lot of people are going to be watching it and clutching their pearls and, oh my God, what's going to happen? Just remember that these people are not going to ruin Trump's inauguration. They're not thinking about the
Yeah.
people. They're not thinking about the debt. They're not thinking about none of that. They just know that they don't want to ruin his party. So they're going to do what they need to do to get through the party. And then after that, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really going to be interesting. I think you're right. Mike Johnson will probably get voted in for a week or 2 or 3 or a month, but he's
Yeah.
ultimately going to be sacrificed. They're going to get rid of his shit. Unfortunately, there's really nobody else in the bullpen at this point. Who are they going to put up? Some people said Jim Jordan. Well, Jim Jordan's already been put up and he couldn't get elected. So who else? James Comer? James Comer's in the same situation as Jim Jordan. Nobody with a reasonable mind is going to vote for them as Speaker of the House. That would just turn it into a bigger mess. And this is part of the thing we can look forward to with the Republicans. Everything with them is going to be chaos. Everything's going to be incompetent. Everything's going to be like slogging through mud because they can't fucking do anything.
Yeah. You know, I was telling you about the guy that I was going to talk to. His daughter stopped talking to him after he voted for Trump, and she joined our community thanks to him.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The guy that
uh,
was a the guy was a grandfather and he was a Trump-fuck and he was watching the grandkids. And when the daughter found out he was a Trump-fuck, she said, "You can't watch the kids anymore." And
yeah,
then he called you to help her out find a space for the grandkids in spite of what was going on. Go ahead.
yeah,
What
she was
happened
the
with that?
person led in our group because I was like, okay, we got enough going on. So, what we need to start doing is like trying to coach and help other people how to, build their communities in their area. But
Right.
she was like the last person that we took in here. Don't give him too much credit because I found out when we got back that he was trying to pressure Pat and some of the other seniors to allow him to come see the grandchildren. And they had to tell him, in order for someone to visit these children, their parents have to give them permission. You know how like
Right.
black women, how we are. Like you're not supposed to come see these kids unless your daughter tell us it's okay. But they didn't want to like tell me when I was on vacation, but come to find out that's what he was trying to do. So I don't even know if it was like out of the goodness to make sure that his grandchildren were looked after while his daughter went to work because, you know, she's struggling a little bit. I don't even know if it was about that. I was just thinking that he was trying to get them around someone who he thought would be soft enough to go against his daughter's wishes and go behind her back and allow him to see the grandchildren. So I kind of got duped on that to think he was doing the right thing for his daughter and grandchildren, but he had an ulterior motive behind that. So don't give him too much credit.
Well, I appreciate that. In fact, when this first started, I remember you talking about the prospect of trying to bring this daughter and her dad together because it's a family and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I told you, and a bunch of other people told you, stay the fuck out of it. Just let them do what they're going to do. And I'm glad it worked out that way because that could just get even more messy if you're in the middle of something. You got plenty of shit to worry about.
Yeah, y'all told me. Y'all was like, nope, stay out of that. Like it's a reason why she ain't talking to her father. Like, stay out of that. And I did. And but the kids are getting looked after. She's all right. So, you know, it worked out in the end. He did it for the wrong reasons, but it turned out to be the best thing for her and the children. So if you want to have a relationship with them, you're gonna have to figure it out. But he wanted me to talk to like him and some of his friends because they wasn't really understanding. And you are not gonna believe this. You're not. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. So they were talking about Democrats this and Democrats that. Now the Republicans are in control. Blah blah blah. And it wasn't making sense. And then it clicked. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like you're saying that now that the Republicans have the control of the person, so now they have control over the House, right? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but the Republicans were in charge of the House for the last 2 years. Like this is going to be their second consecutive term having control of the House, and they're kind of
Exactly.
like, what? And then I'm like, yes. And then they like looked it up, and they
They had
had
to look
no
it up.
they did not know
Oh, for
that
fuck's sake.
Republicans were in the majority of the House. And so I was like, how
Wow.
the heck did you think that Mike Johnson was Speaker of the House and he's a Republican? And they thought that it was like some kind of numbers game or something, like the Democrats had like one up. I don't know how they rationalized to themselves that Democrats were in control of the House. So a lot of times, and I've been hearing this and seeing this, that I don't think that a lot of Republicans knew, because it's not just them. They didn't know that Republicans were in charge of the House before. Like they didn't know that. And it
Wow.
started to click once I explained it to them. And then I was watching like a couple of like Luke Beasley was doing some interviews with like people who voted for Trump and stuff. And the language that they were using was the same language. And so they think that Democrats were in control of the House, and we were like stalling on legislation because I'm not Trump, but Biden wanted to get his what did they call it? They had like some kind of nickname for his the Inflation Reduction Act. They were
Right.
calling it like the Inflation Explosion Act or whatever. Like that's what the cause of the
Oh,
inflation. So they thought we were like holding up legislation because Biden wanted to do this deal, and like Democrats wouldn't do anything until the Republicans like signed off on it, even though Mike Johnson is in control of the House. But I guess they were saying if it's, I don't know, if neither side has like 50-50 or something like that, then the majority or somebody, I don't know how they say it, but they put somebody in place, and that person in place was Mike Johnson. It's weird. And I'm
they're just
still trying
making
to like
shit up.
process,
They're
but
just making shit up.
that's what they think. That is literally what they think. When
No,
I was them
they
calling Trump,
didn't they
Trump,
they
I
didn't
was
know, so they made something up on the spot. They didn't fucking know. That's the sad thing about this.
they did not know. Like they were legitimately shocked when I told them Republicans has been in control of the House. And when you hear like people on television, they're like, well, now we got control of the House now. We got control of the House now. It makes sense because they didn't think that they were in the majority this last time. They didn't think that. But the thing about it is now there's a trifecta, and they know that Republicans are in charge of the House and the Senate and the presidency. So now that they know that, we'll just have to see how they process the chaos and the drama and all that stuff that's going to come along with it. And then, the government shutdowns and all that stuff. For some reason, they thought that we were the ones that was like causing it to almost come to a shutdown and all this other kind of stuff. It's really weird. And to me, it's just doesn't make sense, but they really believe this. And they're not the only people to do that either, because I've been like paying attention now that they told me that. And a lot of Republicans, you will hear them on these interviews. Well, we got control of the House now. We got control of this now. And they had no idea they didn't have control before. That's how.
Yeah, I tell you what, old soul, I'll tell you how to fuck with their heads even more. You had control of the House in the last term. You have control in this term. But get this, you have less control in this term than you had in the last term when you didn't know you had fucking control, because the margin is slimmer, considerably slimmer. Mike Johnson can lose 2 votes and he's fucking done. And that party is so divided, it's not crazy to think that he'll lose more than 2 votes. I frequently on the TikToks, and I'll say Trump-fucks are stupid. And some people will come to me and go, you're just being mean. You shouldn't be name calling. Case in motherfucking point. They're fucking stupid.
Um, I know that one of the I know one of the guys is going to watch this podcast and you just called them stupid, but okay.
Are you telling me one of the Trump-fucks is watching this?
Yeah, he's gonna watch. I did tell him like after we do the podcast, once you load it up, I'll send him the link.
Wow.
But yeah, I was like, you know what? He's an old white guy just like you. I was like, but he just understands politics. But the way he says it, it'll probably be in a way that you can comprehend it. Because
Well, and if he ever wants to rebut it, he's welcome on the program. I can't promise you how it's going to go, but they're welcome to show up on the program if need be.
you
And
notice like
I'm not pulling back. I'm not pulling back from if we got a Trump-fuck watching this. I'm not holding my tongue. They need to know they got
you
played.
know when they have like those Senate hearings and stuff, and then
Yeah.
Republicans like run to like Fox, OAN, Newsmax, all that stuff. And they really do, if you look at it, like the Democrats did this, the Democrats blocked that, da, 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 da. So they really do make it seem like it is the Democrats. And unless you're watching, if that's the only thing that you're watching and that's the only thing that you know, yeah, I think it's idiotic, but I do understand how they didn't know that. I can understand how they
That's
didn't, because that's all they watch. Like right now they think that, some kind of like Muslim terrorist that crossed the border that, you know, ran his car into a group of people. And like they really do think that. That's what they think happened.
I wonder how they dress themselves and cook their dinners. I mean, really, they only listen to certain things. They got people lying to them. They suck it up like fools, like dopes, and they believe anything and they just parrot it as if it's real. And the problem you have to understand, what you hear in the media isn't always truthful. And this is left side and right side media. You got to do a little investigation. You got to be just a fucking touch curious to find out what's really going on. And what you're being told by the media isn't always the truth. Now, you might love Fox News, you might watch it and believe everything they say, but don't you feel a little foolish if you find out later that it's all a lie or they didn't tell you anything? Republicans and some Democrats want to believe what they want to believe. It's whether talk about what we're talking about with the Republicans or Democrats hoping against hope that something at the last moment happens. There are things you want to believe. You're desperate to believe it.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: the Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the presidency. So they have no fucking excuses. Starting on January 20th, you Republicans, you show us how you're going to make America great again. And when you don't, and when you fuck up, this old white motherfucker is going to be shoving it in your face. I fucking promise you.
I think like well not I think but I know like that's why I always like promote your channel and Eric's channel because you would think because one of the guys he did say like I don't just watch Fox like I've watched CNN and MSNBC and then when you see so you'll see something I'm trying to like think of an example like Trump and that Panama Canal thing right
Yeah.
so on Fox they're talking about Trump the Panama Canal blah 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 and then when you turn to CNN, what they will say is, I'm trying to think of the title of that article, but they said if Trump takes back the Panama Canal and Greenland or something like
Not.
that, it would be the best deal since the Louisiana Purchase, something like that. So, so they're not saying that that's a lie. He can't do that. They're not telling these people the dangers if he tries to do that. So you go to Fox and they're telling you like this is the best thing ever. And then you go to CNN and they're saying, well, if he can pull this off, it's the best deal since the Louisiana Purchase. And they're not hearing why that's dangerous. They're not hearing the fact that they didn't steal anything from us. They don't owe us any money. They're not hearing that part of it. So you have somebody that's lying, and then you have somebody over here that's not only saying washing the lie, but completely changing the narrative to almost something positive. Um, yeah, if I find that article, I will send it to you because that's the title of the article. And that is like what they say on television as well. So even if you have somebody like that, who's, and I'm not sticking up for them, but when you're having those falsehoods confirmed through other sources, then I can see how you wouldn't believe it when some random black chick told you, yeah, that's a lie. You know what I mean? So
Here's the thing. I'm gonna bust the balloon of a lot of Trump-fucks.
handle your
Donald
business.
Trump. Donald Trump is not going to take back the Panama Canal, and here is why. We never owned the Panama Canal. The fucking Panama Canal is in fucking Panama. It's not like it's in Jersey or some shit. It's there. Yes, we did go down there and pay a lot of money to build it and develop it. And why? Because we wanted to benefit from it, and other people would benefit from it too. It would help the economy generally if more of the products would go back and forth quicker. We did spend a lot of money because we have a lot of money. We run
Yeah.
about 70% of the ships that go through the Panama Canal. I'm sorry to tell you, they're not taking back the Panama Canal. What are you going to hook it up to a tow truck and bring it up to fucking Florida? Fuck you. That's stupid. That's absolutely stupid. And Canada being the 51st state and Donald Trump's only way he says he's going to do it, well, I'll win over the population. Fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. Canada will shove it in your face. They've shoved it in your face. And Greenland's the same thing. Problem is what Donald Trump is doing, and I'm telling the Trump-fucks this, he promised you lower prices. He promised you lower inflation. After he got elected, he goes, oh, that's going to be hard to do. So he had to spin it and distract you. And you dumb fucking dogs that look at squirrels out the window said, oh, yeah, let's get Greenland. Forget about the inflation. Forget about the high prices. We knew that wasn't going to work anyway. But God damn it, we got to get Greenland. Jesus Christ, you're getting played.
Yeah, I don't think they even pay attention to the people that he props up. I seen someone asking like, like the Trump supporters in his comment section, like, tell me um other countries like Trump where they're doing good. And then like you can hear, well, you could read in the comment section, Argentina, like all of the dictator countries. I think there was
They
even
don't
like a
even know
couple.
what's going on there. These fuckers don't know what's happening next door.
Right. And so I had to tell him, like, because the president of Argentina, Javier, whatever his name was, like, he
Yeah,
was the first person to like meet with Trump after the election. And he is kind of like fashioning himself after Trump. Like, he's like, want to be Trump. Like,
brilliant.
only person on the face of the planet that want to be Trump is him. But since he's taken over, it's their poverty rate is 52.9%.
Oh, well, that's nice. That'll
Yeah.
keep inflation down and prices down.
Yeah. So when you hear Trump say like Viktor Orban and all of these other dictators that he says, even Putin, like how great their country is, you see that little fluff piece that Tucker Carlson did with Russia. And so these people really do think that the people who are modeling themselves after Trump, their countries are just doing great right now. And the only reason they think that is because Trump tells them that. Elon Musk amplifies it on X. Fox News confirms it, and none of the other media has the gall to call him out for it.
Well, I will tell you this: for those of you people that support Trump and make plans for all the great things that are coming, when he fails, I can promise you this: at least this libtard is going to giggle my fucking ass off at you because you'll finally really realize you got played. Did you hear what the Democrats are going to do to try to expose Donald Trump's silliness? All the things he promised prior to the election, they're going to construct bills using his very words verbatim in the bill and then send it to the Republicans and see if it passes. And if it passes, see if Donald Trump signs it. They will expose Donald Trump for the liar and the fool that he fucking is. It will never pass through the Republican House. It will never pass through the Republican Senate. And if by some chance it does, Donald Trump won't sign it because he forgot what the fuck he said.
Not only that, but these people are so easily distracted.
Yeah.
Like with the
Squirrel.
exactly because they were so in this such of an uproar about the visas.
Yeah.
And now that it was like, oh, this Muslim that came across the Mexican border. First of all, what? It's just because he
Oh, wow.
it's
You
stupid,
know,
but this Muslim that came across the Mexican border came through this border because of Biden's open border policy or whatever.
yeah. But he
Um,
was born in Beaumont, Texas. So he went across the border and then came across the border again. Yeah, it's brilliant. Donald Trump keeps doubling down on this one. The facts are the facts. He wasn't he wasn't from Mexico. He wasn't from a foreign country. He was born and raised in fucking Texas and was in the US military.
we're the
I don't
only
care what Donald Trump says. He's fucking wrong.
we're the only people saying that, and a lot of the people have like went from that to over here. All of a sudden, they're paying attention to that. Um, you try to question them or push back because it's like, okay, so why do we have this issue in New Orleans? Which, by the way, I just want to say I'm glad that TJ and Rebecca are okay. I'm so happy to hear their voices on the podcast. But
Yeah.
why is he making this such a big deal? But he's not calling out the guy from my state, from Vegas, right? So it's just kind of like, I wonder if their skin complexion has anything to do with it. So even though here in Vegas, there's all these conspiracy theories around it and stuff, now we find out that he unalived himself, but he wasn't calling him out like that. It was only the brown guy that he did that to. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that,
Well, Donald Trump is a simple minded motherfucker. If you're brown, you're bad. That's how Donald Trump looks at it. And what happened in New Orleans, he had this Muslim name. Uh, he claimed allegiance to ISIS. This is right in line with Donald Trump talking about immigrants and stuff. First of all, um, he recently became a Muslim. And like in the summer, he allegedly um, pledged allegiance to ISIS. There's something wrong with this guy because I've seen interviews about people who knew him before and they said he was a normal guy, but somehow this guy got radicalized. Now the guy in Vegas, that's a different thing. It's interesting because he is a white guy. He
yeah,
was currently in the military in the Green Beret. He
yeah,
drove a Tesla in front of the Trump hotel there. So clearly, this was supposed to be symbolic or some kind of message. I think one of the reasons he's not going after the white guy in Vegas is because we now find out in his social media platforms, big time Trump humper. He's a patriot. He's a Trump humper. So what's going on here? My only thought can be this: there are a lot of MAGA that don't like Elon Musk, and the symbolism and go in front of Trump, right under Trump's sign, and blow up the Tesla. It's just, this is part and parcel to what Donald Trump has brought to this country: a lot of adversarialness, a lot of divisiveness, and a lot of violence. And this is what you're going to see more of as long as he's in control.
Yeah, I think that because I was talking to like my brother and a couple of his battle buddies, and what they were saying, because I know you asked during one of the lives about the military connection, and the guy in New Orleans, from my understanding, he was a Trump supporter too. So like
Oh,
these are
was he?
all Trump supporters, yeah. Even though those
Not
first what,
surprising.
yeah, they're all Trump supporters. But what they're saying is that first of all, they've been working really hard to get like Fox News and right wing media off of the basics because they're watching that. But
Right.
second, it's the way that they are treated. So you could have like somebody go to Afghanistan and they're there for like 10, 15 years, however long their deployment is. And they're seeing things, they're being exposed to things. When you think about divorce rates in the military, which is like crazy, and
Yeah.
they're like sacrificing so much for this country. And then when you come back home, you don't have the support that you need for PTSD. You have to go through TRICARE, which right now United Healthcare has that contract. So good luck on them, approving your claims for things that you need. So they come home and it's like, I've sacrificed for this country for nothing. And then a lot of them have a problem with Afghanistan too, like even the ones that understand that it was Trump's fault, there were Afghanistan people there that were interpreters for them. There were
Right.
guides for them. They put their lives on the line for us. And the deal was when we leave Afghanistan, we're going to bring these people with us because if we leave them here, they murdered. It's like, it's
Right.
just that simple. They did.
Right.
And when we had to pull them out, we left them there.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like they look at America and they look at the government and they see that the government does not care about the people. And they see that the government does not care about the military. We're just looking at them like a bunch of G.I. Joe dolls with no feelings, no families, no stress, no trauma, no nothing. They see that. And so then you'll have like a white ring, like extremist groups swoop in and just tell them how bad the government is. We need to overthrow this government. We need to do this. We need to do that. Because until we do it, the government is going to continue to like brainwash people. They're not going to tell them the truth. They're going to control them. So we need to do something. We have the background to like stand up and make sure that we overturn this government and we have a government that works for the people. And that's why I think like most of the Proud Boys, that militia, a lot of them is ex-military. And that's what it is when you leave and you sacrifice so much for your country and you come home and excuse my language, but you're treated like pure shit. And then somebody comes in and they're like telling you like, hey, I recognize your struggle. I've been there. I know what you're going through. We need to push back against this government. And that is why you're seeing the culture of extremism in the military, is because they sacrifice, they come home, and what do they have to show for it? You know what I mean? And then some of them, one of his friends was saying when he was in the military, how important he felt. His job was important. Like he was like in charge of a certain group of people. And then when you come home, you can't get a good job. You're like in a factory somewhere working, and you have some like 20-year-old kid whose dad owns the company that's your boss and telling you what to do. How do you adjust to that? It seems unfair and unjust, which it is. It's just that the way that extremist groups are able to prey on that. And that's why you're seeing that culture. And that's from my understanding of it.
Well, here's the irony of it all. They're supporting Republicans or supporting Donald Trump, yet
Yeah.
Republicans are the ones talking about cutting veteran benefits. That makes no sense. I have one
Mhm.
question. Isn't it weird that there were two assassination attempts on Donald Trump? Both Republicans, both Trump supporters. There was attack on the U.S. Capitol, an attempt to overthrow the government. They were Trump-Fuck fans. And now we have two terroristic acts prior to the inauguration, both Trump-Fucks. None of them Democrats. Isn't that rather interesting? I was saying earlier that something happens bad, you get all focused on it, then something worse happens, and you forget about the first thing. There's another story that you and I were talking about that we've forgotten about. We got this craziness in New Orleans. We got the craziness in Las Vegas. But even before all that started, there was another story. And I think you know more about it than I do. But essentially, there was a guy whose house was raided and he was arrested in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
He had like 150 pipe bombs finished, ready to go in his garage.
And
That was
other
the
explosives.
largest cache, and other explosives. That was the largest cache of pipe bombs that the FBI has ever grabbed. That's a
Yes.
huge story. Where is that shit going? Where was it intended to go? And then we get this other stuff and we forget about this guy in Virginia. It's fucking absolutely crazy.
I just want to say, like, kudos to his neighbor, because I guess him and his neighbor was like cool. And he was telling his neighbors, like, some really disturbing stuff. Like, it's a shame that, um, don't nobody do something to Kamala Harris. I'm kind of like watching my language, what I say. But he was making these threats towards Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and his neighbor knew he was unstable. And so he's the one that gave them the tip to catch him. Um, for me, the most disturbing part about this is the the bomb squad said that some of those explosives, not the pipe bombs, but the explosives, had to be detonated at the property because they were that sensitive that they could go off in transport. I forgot the name of whatever that chemical was that he used, but they said that it could have made the explosives go off if the temperature in the room where he was keeping the explosives had changed. So just a drop in the temperature and it could have blew up. In the meantime, he got
Wow.
his children and his wife in the house. So why he doesn't have any charges for like child endangerment or none of that other kind of stuff, I don't know. And then the second part about this is he is out on bail.
Are you serious? He is?
He is out on
Wow.
bail. The
Wow.
judge said he's out on bail, like I guess unless the FBI decides to charge him with something else. He is out on
Wow.
bail. Um, that's like second to putting his wife and children in danger. But I'm just gonna say the children because the wife,
He had to know.
no way that you are going to do that in a home where me and my children reside. And then you think you're just gonna bring your butt back home because you out on bail? First of all, who bailing you out? Because it's not supposed to be me. And if you do get
Hmm.
bailed out, where are you gonna go? You're not gonna
Yeah.
endanger the lives of my children because you are over here on this BS. Like, what did Biden and Kamala Harris ever do to you? These people are like radicalized and they're not being punished for it. The fact that this man is out on bail, it just gets under my skin. Like, why is he walking around right now? He is a danger. You can take all the knives and guns and all of that stuff. Clearly, he don't need that. He knows how to make bombs and explosives. He only got two fingers on one of his hands. I just, from the first time that he had some bombs detonate, I think they said the first time it happened in like 2012. That's how long he's been rolling around with bombs and explosives. And he's
And
out
just
on bail.
got caught now. What are the two common threads with this guy in this story that we've been talking about? Trumplefuck? Stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, just fucking let's go tell the neighbor how crazy I am, and then he won't tell because he's my guy. He's my guy. I won't. He won't tell on me. We think we should do something to Kamala. These people are just dumb motherfuckers. I
I
mean,
think
Jesus Christ, if you're going to be a criminal, at least be somewhat intelligent about it.
I think that with a lot of these people, they have been emboldened through Trump. They don't see, and not just Trump, but just in general, they don't see people being held accountable. They don't see any punishments going on. They don't feel a need to kind of like hide it and cover it up because it's gonna be all good. And especially when they see the extremism and the people who support Trump, they feel like Trump has their back. I don't know why they feel like that because the Jan Sixers are still sitting in prison, but they really do feel like, oh, I'm rolling with Trump. This is his second term, so he's gonna be, and they could be right because there's some governors that's been pardoning um, some of these people who got convicted. So they could be right in thinking that, but they are being allowed to do this stuff with no consequences, like at all.
I think you're right. I think they are emboldened by Donald Trump. I think they will. I think they believe that they would please Donald Trump if they bomb somebody's house, a libtard's house, or something like that. I think they really believe this, and it's such an immature attitude. You know, when you're a young man and you have a dad that's a bully, you want to do anything you can to please him, to keep him stay in his favor. But when you grow to be an adult, you realize, well, that's fucking stupid. He's a piece of shit, and I'm not going to be a piece of shit to make him happy. But these
Yeah,
people are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're getting sucked in to try to appease daddy. And daddy's so stupid, he just says shit. He doesn't even necessarily believe it. He just wants to give this impression that he's tough and powerful. Well, I got news for you, Trumplefucks. He's the weakest motherfucker, pussy ass bitch you've ever seen. And it will come out very clearly over the next year, year and a half.
yeah, and they are just. I don't like to say Donald Trump and MAGA and the Republican Party because that separates them, and I think they're all just as bad, even when you
It's
are
all one
completely.
shit pile. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you see stuff like Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about um, Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd, he needs to be released. You see that couple with the guns during the BLM protest, they've been pardoned. It's been like three of these racist people who have been pardoned. And now you have her coming out and saying that, and other people amplifying those voices. You have Donald Trump, all of them, all of them, even Moses Mike Johnson, are on television saying, hey, this brown person over here is a terrorist and they're trying to like kill us. And they are putting targets on the back of Black and brown people in this country. And they're doing it intentionally. That's what they are doing. Um, and they feel like they have permission to do that because of the example that's being, not even a dog whistle, what they're telling them. You're going to be
Well,
all right if it's a black or a brown person that you do this
my
to. You're going to
my
be all
wife
right.
was saying the same thing, that with this New Orleans situation and the gentleman having a Muslim name and supposedly tied to ISIS and all that stuff. She said
Yeah.
it's like they put a target on every mosque in this country. I mean, not all Muslims are terrorists. You can't tell a Republican that because they don't believe that's true. They believe they are terrorists. But you're right. It's all about creating villains or terrorist or somebody that's coming to attack you. It's just part and parcel to what Republicans do. It's all about fear. I want you scared of somebody so I can just go do whatever the fuck I want to do. And you're worried about fighting the boogeyman, so to speak. And it's just, they just do it over and over and over again. And these dumb fucks keep falling for it.
Yeah. It's not easy being a black or brown person in America right now because
No,
you know that this is the president-elect of the United States that's targeting minorities in this country. I'll be having a hard time getting that out. But that's what they're doing. They know what they're doing. MTG in particular, because she knows the reaction of our community if they were to let that happen. And that's
right.
just an excuse to say, yep, look at them. They animals, they savage, they rabid, all these other words that Trump likes to use when he's talking about us. Um, it's with intent. And then you have to think to yourself, like, my honey has to leave the house. My brother has to leave the house. Um, I have these little children in our community. They have to leave the house. You can't stay at home and protect them forever. And I
Right.
don't think a lot of people understand what that feels like. Like, I don't know. I think you have to be a minority to understand it, to see it and be exposed to it all the time. So I do have a lot of people who are very good allies. Deb, she's a good ally. Your wife is a good ally. But they don't have that fear level that we have when our families leave a house, like hoping that they come back. And it's like that dread of like this dark shadow waiting to like cast itself over us once Trump is inaugurated. And
Well,
like that's the
yeah.
reality. I can't afford to think that some miracle is going to happen because I have to be prepared for what this man is about to do. I have to be prepared for that. And I have to prepare children for that. I have to prepare girls from that. And this is the crazy part. I never in my life thought that I would be like talking to and mentoring a bunch of like white girls, teenagers, children, and preparing them for that. And the
Uh,
crazy part about it is their parents sold them out for Donald Trump. Because what's about to happen to these girls with these, we need to get as many children pregnant as possible because we want more white people in America. What these girls are about to experience, their own fathers and mothers caused that to happen. And that's the worst part about it.
I'm going to say something that you may not understand at first, but every time somebody says to me, well, you're an ally of people of color, you're an ally of the LGBTQ. Um, I don't consider myself an ally of people of color or LGBTQ. I consider myself part of a peer group of decent, good people. The fact that they're a different sexual and orientation or the fact that they're a different color isn't really up for discussion. Who cares about that? That's the issue. Every time somebody says, I'm an ally of people of color, well, now I'm distinguishing the difference between you and me. There is no difference between you and me. I've said many times before, one of the hardest things about having Old Soul on the podcast is that she's a way better human being than me. I feel a little short shrift here, but we shouldn't we should be together and fighting together. And of course we're allies because we're good, decent people that want the right things for this country. I don't think the color or sexual orientation or religion should even come to play. Now, the Republicans, the Trump-fucks will say, "Oh, he's a LGBT ally." Well, in their minds, maybe I am, but we should all be fighting together because we all have plenty to lose if what they want to do actually comes to pass.
Yeah, I get it, but it's still
Okay.
different.
Oh, I
It's,
know. I mean, that's the
you
thing is
know,
I can't say I know what you. I can be sympathetic. I can be helpful, but I can't know what you go through because I got this pasty face, and I will never know. But I can be. I'll never know the problems my wife goes through because I'm not a woman. But I can be sympathetic, empathetic, and helpful.
yeah, and I think that the way that they've been able to like come in and do this divide and conquer, um, the FAFO part, like
Yeah.
I watch those videos and I get a laugh out of it sometimes. But
Yeah.
like after talking to the girls today, it's like hard for me to laugh at that because the people who voted for Trump, yeah, they just to find out. So are these children. They just to find out too. So it's kind of hard to laugh at it after talking to them today. Like y'all seriously like dyeing your hair like darker colors and putting in brown contacts, like you know what I mean? And
That's
for me,
crazy.
I don't even know what that's like. You know what I mean? So that's like a whole different oppression going on, and these are children. And I just people just don't understand that yet. And for me, the sad part about it is they're not going to get it until they feel it. And I think the worst thing you could do to a parent that actually loves their child is to see your child hurt and to see your child in pain. But your child has to go through that in order for you to understand what Donald Trump is doing. So it's kind of like you have to sacrifice your children so your grown behind can learn a lesson.
Yeah.
It makes no
Yeah. I think that's the saddest thing for me because I'm older. People say you're not old. I'm fucking old. Compared to
sense.
my kids, I'm old. They tell me I'm old. But when I grew up in the 60s and early 70s when I was young, I didn't have nearly the things to worry about that kids today have to worry about. They have to worry about grown up things. They have to worry about school shootings. They have to worry about being abducted. They have to worry about racism. I didn't have to worry about that in the 60s. I was oblivious. I got to be a kid. And this is what I think is tough. You know, you take somebody like wild child. What, she's 16 or so? She's gone
17.
through 17. She's gone through shit that I never went through in my whole life. She's had to grow up very quickly and make some hard decisions. And at 16 or 17 years old, she should not have to be put in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't understand it. Like, I'm happy that her mother left her with me, but as like a mother myself, I still don't understand. I don't understand
No.
how you are still with her father. I don't understand why you still go to the same church as her abuser. I don't understand why you expected her to go back to that church and be normal. Like, I
Right.
don't understand that. And the hardest part is coming to terms with the fact that people are really that indoctrinated. And then a lot of these people are really that freaking selfish, just selfish beyond words, selfish. I just think that I don't even know how to explain that because I don't get it.
Well, I
I
think
don't, I,
that's the real problem. I think that's a real problem in this country over and above everything. If you're looking at Republicans or you're looking at some parents or you're looking at whatever, selfishness is an epidemic in this country. It's all about
and
me. What do I get? When do I get it? And why did they get something that I didn't get?
mm,
And people have to learn to look at a bigger picture. You know, as a parent, it can't be what do I get? It's what do my kids get first and then focus on myself. But a lot of people don't fucking do that.
mm-mm. I think like one thing that I'm starting to see is like just like across board in America is like this learned helplessness. Because you
Yeah.
see people on the left or in the center, whatever, and they just kind of say, okay, he won, like there's really nothing that we can do. We just gonna have to sit back, watch it go down, and then 2026 try to get some people out to vote. It's kind of like they've resigned themselves to like how bad it's going to be. Like we know it's going to be bad, but we can still prepare. We can still do things. We can still try to, help out where we can. But it's kind of like that air, like just sucked out of you, and you feel deflated. And I get it. I felt like that when Kamala lost, but you can't stay in that position. You just can't. And then when you look at extremists, they just blame other people because they
Right.
don't want to do the work or look at themselves or like they have to blame someone else in order to keep pushing. And anytime I ask like basic questions, it's like I'm being racist. You're a Black person, you can't ask certain questions. I think one of the things that I've started asking is like where are the bad immigrants at? Because if
Yeah.
you go to Kentucky, they say, hey, I'm with deporting people, but don't deport my workers on my farm because they are good people. They're hardworking people. These are family people. They go to church. You can go to Florida, construction jobs, farmers. Hey, those other bad immigrants, you can deport them. But my immigrants, they're good. They work hard. They're this, they're that. Go to every state in this country, and every single employer who hires these immigrants will say, the other immigrants, but not mine because all of mine are good. So if every industry that employs immigrants are saying, hey, it's not our immigrants, it must be the other immigrants. But there is no other immigrants because everybody else is saying the same thing. So where are the bad immigrants at? And nobody thinks about that. But anytime I bring it up, it's just like, oh, you're just trying to make it into a race thing. It's about immigration. No, it's not about immigration. It's about race and it's about class. And we are about to find out just how much class is about because they're going to
Yeah.
keep their smart, high skilled immigrants. And I do believe that they're going to deport the ones who work on the farms, the construction sites. They're suppressing wages by bringing in other workers and putting them in these certain positions, right? So
Yeah.
they're not going to pay Americans that low of a wage for the skill sets that they have. So it's going to like keep wages low. And the point is to make you desperate enough to where you will take some of these jobs that you would never think about taking. Because it's one thing for you to be hungry, but when you hear your babies stomachs rattling and they hungry and you're trying to survive, you're going to take whatever you can get. And they know that. We know that. But there's like half of the population over there, they don't know that yet. And they're not going to find that out until they are like that desperate. Because I've been seeing like each Trump supporter is like, well, he said he's going to do that, but we think he's going to do the right thing. Okay. So they're
When has he
gonna
ever
find
done that?
understand that they really are trying to keep us desperate. And when you're desperate, you take whatever job you can get, you take whatever pay you can get, you work every single day, however many hours it is that you need to work, so you could keep your children fed, even if you're not doing it for yourself. And they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And it's insane to me that people don't get that. That they're it's not about your skin color with these people. They only see green and they are supposed to switch on you like that. It's getting ready to happen. It's insane
Do you
that they don't
find
see it.
do you find hope in that this class situation, the wealthy getting some heat now, the CEO from United Health, Elon Musk, and some other folks. Do you see some hope in that class question coming into the narrative more upfront? I mean, it hadn't been for a long time. They successfully fooled us to think that, yeah, just keep giving it to the rich people and it'll trickle down to us. Well, it hasn't for 45 years and people haven't done anything about it. But it seems now that people are kind of aware of it. I mean, we're still early on in the stages, but you would hope. I mean, there's always the talk about the French Revolution and charging the Bastille and coming with pitchforks. That's in the conversation now, and that's a real concern. If people are struggling and they're desperate, they'll do pretty much fucking anything.
Yeah, I think that it's like that fog is starting to lift a little bit. It was lifting kind of rapidly, and then all of a sudden, Trump yelled "squirrel," pointed to the New Orleans situation, and a lot of people's
Right.
focus just shifted like that. I think that once people actually start to feel the consequences of this election, then that's our opportunity to just pound it in. This is a class issue. This is what they're doing. We have to push back against that. Right now, we can't do that because they're not feeling the economic downfall that Trump is getting ready to bestow on us. And I don't understand why they have to suffer first to get it. Like they're gonna have to do that. They have to suffer. Their children have to suffer. They have to go through that before they say, you know what, maybe it's not a good idea to have a cabinet full of billionaires or a bunch of billionaires with conflicts of interest all over the place in charge of our lives, our future, and our children. I thought they would have woke up when they saw Elon Musk say, yeah, we need to defund these public schools. Going to school is woke. You don't need to go to school. You need to be smart for it. That's stupid. We need to defund these schools. And well, your child is never going to have a good job because they're not smart enough. To me, like that's not even dropping a hint. And then I saw he did this, oh God, this speech that he gave, and he had the most disgusting smirk on his face. He was
Yeah.
like, the American people, they gave us a mandate, and we're going to give them exactly what they were asking for. I look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, he he just to wreak all kind of hell on this country. And the audience is like clapping and cheering. They didn't even pick up on the fact that he is telling them, this is what you voted for, and I'm going to give it to you. They didn't even pick up on that. He could not have been more clear in that speech when he said that. They didn't get it. So we have to sit here and we have to suffer until other people wake up. But while
Well,
we're
when
suffering, we need to keep pounding that message out there while they're vulnerable, while they're starting to see. We need to just start pounding it and putting it into their heads that this is what's going on. You can't tell these people nothing once or twice. You have to continually pound it in their head in order for them to get it. You just have to keep doing it.
when Elon Musk said that we got to get rid of the brown people, deport all the illegal immigrants, except for the smart ones that are tech bros, and we want to bring them over across the ocean to work, mainly because they're cheaper. But he pushed it a little further and he says, well, because Americans are stupid. They can't do it as well as people around the world. That would suggest that maybe education is something we should look at, not tear down. But that's not how Elon Musk looks at that. But at the same time, then Donald Trump, their Lord and Savior, comes out and supports Elon Musk, in spite of the fact that MAGA is mad at Elon Musk. Now, do these people look at Donald Trump and realize what's true? And what's true is Donald Trump is a narcissist. He's a piece of shit. He will tell you whatever you want to hear to get what he wants. And then when he get what he wants, you don't fucking exist anymore. Do you think the Trump-fucks understand that? Or do they just kind of follow Trump around and agree with anything he says?
I don't think they understand it yet. And what makes me think that they don't understand it, well, some of them do, but the ones on the bottom, they don't. Because you hear them say stuff like, Elon Musk is like a bad influence on Trump. Elon Musk is doing all of this stuff, and he's at Mar-a-Lago too much. We need to get Elon Musk away from Trump. So what they're saying is Donald Trump is easily influenced and manipulated,
Yeah.
and he can be controlled by Elon Musk. But that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's Elon's fault. That's Vivek Ramaswamy's fault. That's all of these other people around him that's getting in his ear and planting these bad policies in his ear. It's all those people's fault. I'll know when they get it, when they start saying Donald Trump is effing up. He's screwing up this country. When they start pointing the finger at the source of the problem, that's when I know that they'll get it. And they don't get it right now. Some of them do, because I am convinced that Steve Bannon, Laura Loomer, all of these people, they get it. The difference is they was in on the con. Like we can tell these people all this racist stuff. They go like buy our stuff. They gonna give us all this money. Like we just to blow up millions and millions and millions of dollars because we're pulling the wool over their eyes. They thought they were in on the con. They didn't think that they were being conned. So the reason that they out there now telling the truth is because they realized like, hey, Trump played us too. We're not supposed to go along for this ride. They get that now. So now they want to like sound the alarm. People think that Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon and all these rest of these people just, they saw what Elon Musk did and they just woke up and realized what was going on. They knew. They just thought that they were in on the plot together. But they didn't know that Trump was playing them just as much as they were playing the little minions. They didn't realize that. They know it now. So now that's why they sounded the alarm.
And now that's the fatal flaw with people that follow con men or con
Mm-hmm.
women. Con men are just going to keep conning. They're
Yep.
going to use you for all they can get, and then they'll con you too. They'll con Steve Bannon. They'll con the Trump-fucks. He's got nothing to lose right now. That's the worst position you can put a narcissist in. When you've got
Yeah.
nothing to lose, they're going to do whatever the fuck they want. And you can get mad at him, but you've already given him everything he wanted. So you're fucking stuck. And these people, as I've said earlier, they've been played and they may not realize it as yet, but that realization is coming. And it's going to be embarrassing for those Trump-fucks because they will get played. They will get angry. They will suffer because of what Donald Trump is doing, and they fucking voted for it. It's going to be very embarrassing for them. At
Yeah. I
least we
think
know what's coming. At least we understand it.
the thing about it is, and I don't even think Donald Trump sees this, but Elon Musk is flexing his muscle at every opportunity that he can to show Donald Trump, like, I'm the one that's in charge. I don't care what you say. I don't care what I say. We know what's
Right.
up. Because a lot of stuff that they do it behind the scenes. Elon Musk didn't have to post about the visas. He didn't have to do that. They could have just did that behind closed doors. MAGAs wouldn't have known nothing about it. Because in
Right.
August, Elon Musk laid off thousands of American workers. And he brought in a bunch of immigrants on the visas. That was back in August. Nobody knew that he did that because they were just doing it behind this sneaky behind the closed doors like they always do. We didn't have to know
Right.
about this one either unless Elon Musk wouldn't have came out and announced it. Like, yeah, I'm for these visas. And he sat back and he watched MAGA get into this uproar. And then he like, all right, Trump, you need to tell them that we cool with these visas. And then Trump had to come out and take his side. So he's constantly showing Trump who's boss. What he did with Viktor Orban, laughing about being a shadow president, that wasn't a mistake that he was caught on camera saying that. He is making sure that he knows what's up. And I think part of that is because Elon and Putin is so close like this, he knows whatever dirt it is that Putin has on Trump. I don't know if it's a P tape, a poop tape. I don't know what kind of tape it is, but it's dirt on this man to where he is not going to cross Elon. He's not going to do it. And Elon is going to continue to flex his muscle, not just here. He's doing it everywhere. he is emboldened like times 20 at this point. And I think he gets kind of like a kick out of playing games with people's lives. I really do think he likes that.
Well, you make a good comparison with Elon and Vladimir Putin, because Vladimir Putin is a master at manipulating people and getting things on people. And Vladimir Putin is playing Donald Trump at every turn. Every time
Yeah.
Donald Trump tries to get a little bucky, then Vladimir Putin says something to shoot his ass down, like put up pictures of his naked wife or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So he keeps doing that, and Elon Musk is smart enough to see what works with Vladimir Putin. He's doing the same thing. He's
Mm-hmm.
pushing the issues. Let's see who really controls this. I'm going to say some shit that I know they aren't going to like, and you're going to side with me. So Donald Trump, this is why I've said Donald Trump's so weak.
Yeah.
If you're in power of a big country or you have $400 billion, he's going to bend over and do whatever they fucking tell him to do.
Yeah.
And proof is in the pudding. Just take a look at what's happening.
Yeah. Musk is definitely showing Trump what time it is. Like he's flexing his muscles and he's doing it all the time when he's talking about certain things in public, like dropping these hints. That interview he did with Orban, all this stuff is not like a mistake. He is like anytime like you're blackmailing somebody, you have to constantly remind them, don't cross me, don't play with me. I got dirt on you. You don't want me to do this. So he is constantly doing that with Trump. And the fact that he
Yeah.
moved into Mar-a-Lago is more of a reason to know that he is making sure that Trump knows what's going on. He know who's in charge. He is making sure that Trump knows that. It's crazy that other people don't see it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm from the hood or whatever. But it's like clear as day to me what Musk is doing with Trump. Clear as day. He's a coward. He ain't gonna fight back.
Uh, do you think he can pull that off with Congress, though? I mean, he has to influence Congress, and he hasn't had much luck as of late, with Rick Scott and Matt Gaetz and the funding bill. He's been trying to apply pressure, and Congress has just pushed back every fucking time. That may be the problem. I mean, it's great to have the president on your side, but the president can only do so much with Congress, too. If they're tired of your shit and they don't want to give you what you want, you're not going to fucking get it unless he can find some way of taking over Congress. Some people said, well, he could be Speaker of the House. No way. No way he gets elected Speaker of the House. That's just fucking silly. But I think we can be thankful that there are some reasonably minded people, of course, the Democrats, and some Republicans just aren't going to allow some of this crazy shit to happen.
Um, I don't know about that because I think that most of these people are for sale. And I don't think that Musk is above paying for politicians who just bought a whole election and his
Yeah.
money like went up skyrocket overnight. Um, and then I also wonder like what type of dirt can he dig up on somebody that'll make them bend the knee? So you can buy them off, you can dig up dirt on them. There's like so many different ways to twist these people arms because they're all cowards. And
Yeah.
it's imagine of finding that like that pressure point and applying pressure to it. So that's kind of why like I don't hold out hope on that because I don't I know how these people are. Marjorie Taylor Greene just talked about the $17 million taxpayer funds going off to their victims of assault and, you know, all of
Yeah.
their
The
escapades.
slush fund. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like there's dirt on most of them. And most of them can be bought. So I don't really know. It just depends if he finds that right pressure point. Maybe he could. I will say this though, Elon Musk is dangerous now. Make him Speaker of the House, he will be twice as dangerous because he wasn't voted into that position. He doesn't have any constituents to answer to. So he could not pull votes to the floor. He could just shut down the government and like, all right, I'm cool with that. I ain't gotta worry about nobody voting for me. I don't have to worry about none of this other stuff that's going on. That's not
Right.
my problem. That will make him twice as dangerous than what he is right now because he does not care and he does not have to answer to nobody. Who does he have to
Right.
answer? So I know that people are throwing that around. I would hope that the Republican Party is not that dumb, but prove me wrong. Stand up to him. I don't
I
put it
just
past
don't
them.
think it's I don't think it's a reasonable possibility because MAGA is not like an Elon Musk and they won't vote for him and they need every fucking vote they can get. So the whole
Yeah.
Elon Musk being Speaker of the House, I just don't think that's real. The one thing I have to question about Donald Trump, though, people keep saying he must have something on Donald Trump. Fucker's been convicted 34 times. He's been sued for $500 million. He's been adjudicated as a sexual predator. He's stolen classified documents. He mounted an insurrection against this country. What could possibly be left that he wouldn't be immune from, like he has the rest of it? I don't know if Donald Trump is afraid of being exposed for something because he's been exposed for more shit than every other president put together.
um, I think that it depends on what it is, and it might not even be, any type of political or monetary gain. You just have to think about what would be like the end of the earth for Donald Trump. Like a certain type of tape or R. Kelly type of tape or two
Right.
girls and one type of tape out there. It could be maybe just a picture of him with no clothes on or something. You know what I'm like? How hard is it to get?
There's that. Yeah.
I don't like, before I say this, I know that it's women who listen that are hoes, right? And I'm not being offensive. I'm just talking about this particular situation right here. I don't got no problem with hoes. Bills don't care if you're paying with Nature's credit card or a Capital One credit card, as long as it clears, right? Okay.
Right.
How hard would it be to get like a Russian prostitute in the room with Donald Trump? And get some pictures of him without his hair combed over. Get some pictures of him with like no clothes on, no tan, no nothing. You know what I mean? For us, it'll be like, oh yeah, that'll be embarrassed, but I ain't gonna sell out my whole country for some nudes. Y'all tripping. But for Donald Trump, that would be like life ending for him. So I do think it's like we're thinking about like money and all this other kind. I don't even think it's that deep. I just think that it's something that he doesn't want people to see. Like he has this strong man persona, and he does not want that persona to like go away or be tarnished in any type of way. And he will do anything to stop that from getting in the eyes of the public. And I really do think it could be something that simple that is keeping this man in check. I really do.
Well, you're absolutely right. And that makes sense because as a narcissist, you can get them for criminal activity, for abusing women and all that stuff. And that's a little embarrassing. But the thing that's most important to Donald Trump is that he's not embarrassed in his manliness or his sexuality or whatever is infringed on. And you're probably right. It is something as simple as that, like you say, the P tape. Or there's the other thing too, though. There's that lawsuit that came out around 2015 where he was a co-defendant with Jeffrey Epstein regarding the rape of a 13-year-old girl. That kept coming up and then kept going away. And now it's reasonable to think that he either threatened or paid this person off. Something like that would come about. Something where he was in a video with some underage girl, much like, we talked about Matt Gaetz. That might be the end of it all for Donald Trump with his followers. A video where you can actually see it. So maybe there is something out there that he does not want seen. And it wouldn't be surprising to have something like that out there, knowing the kind of human that Donald Trump fucking is.
Yeah. And I mean, how hard would it be to lure someone like that? He doesn't believe in vetting anybody. I think
No,
that Putin, I'm like, I do not put it past him sending an underage, young Russian girl to do something like that underhanded. I don't put it past him to do that. And I do think like whatever it is a secret that Trump would want to take to his grave. I just don't think it's that deep as to where, he was
probably
like
right.
secrets or having affairs and like he's a rapist and his supporters still voted for him. They don't care about that. I saw Steve Bannon, Tim Pool, and Matt Gaetz holding a panel the other day. And it's like, why the heck is Matt Gaetz even having a seat at the table? They don't care about stuff like that. To us, it was like, oh my God, that's a huge scandal. That's like gross, disgusting. This man's career is over. I never want to see this fool again unless he's getting arrested. And MAGA is like, oh yeah, come on in, sit at this panel, tell us your thoughts and your ideas. They don't
You know,
care about stuff like that. They just don't. But I do think they don't believe in like reading. They don't read indictments. They don't read like everything is fake news to them. It's on paper. It's not real. But if they were to see a tape like that or to see pictures like that with their own eyes, that's different. So they know
yeah.
who Trump is on paper, but they don't see Trump like that. So it's easier for them to ignore reality.
You know, what's going to be interesting is that when Donald Trump becomes president and he is a lame duck and there's really nothing he can offer anybody anymore, don't be
Yeah.
surprised if some of these MAGA fucks, like Steve Bannon, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Matt Gaetz, like all these people, go on the attack against Donald Trump. And when those fuckers go on the attack, there is going to be no guardrails. They're going to go after blood with him. And it's going to be them fighting amongst themselves. And Donald Trump, we know as a narcissist, he's going to crash. He's going to be embarrassed. He's going to be made a fool of. It's just a matter of when. And that may be the time it happens when his own people, his own dirtbags that have been following him for all these years have had enough. And he's worn out his welcome because he has nothing more to offer them.
You know what? That's true. That is true. Because I think that's something that people just have to see for themselves. Like you have to like witness it and see it up close because these people are so brainwashed that nothing else, we can't tell them nothing. They literally have to see that with their own eyes. They don't care about, you know, these type of abusers, and they don't really care about that type. They say they care about it, but they don't. They only care about it when they're talking about transgender women, and it's not even a transgender woman issue because Donald Trump isn't transgender, and he was sneaking into girls' locker rooms at beauty
No.
pageants, staring at these young girls. Matt Gaetz, he's not transgender while he was over here sex trafficking girls and sleeping with minors. None of these
Right.
people had to sneak inside of a restroom to do this. The only time you would see a transgender woman doing something like that is if she was a straight man who presented herself like that just to do it. There's no trans woman that's going to do that. These are straight men that are committing these assaults on these girls, and they don't have to go into a restroom to do it. And then the second part about that is like, think about Sonny and Chaz Bono, their sons, transgender male, right? When you look at Sonny Bono, you look at a man. You don't see a woman because that's
Right.
a man, right? So
Right.
they say use your own bathroom. But if this man who looks like a man, presents as a man, has already had his reassignment surgery, if this man goes into a restroom with a 6-year-old girl, her father is going to be in the hallway ready to fight. So either you
Yeah.
want him to use the restroom that he was assigned at birth, or you want him to use the restroom how he presents himself. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. Like, I don't want them to use no bathroom because you don't look right as a grown man going into a girl's bathroom. But at the same time, I don't want you in a man's restroom either. So it's like, you can't have it both ways. Do you want them to use that restroom that they were assigned at birth or how they present themselves? Because it would be so weird if you saw a transgender man walk into a girl's restroom. The parents would have a fit. Probably the girls in the bathroom would have a fit. But that's how closed-minded they are. They don't even think about stuff like that. Transgender people is not committing these assaults. It's straight men that's doing it, and they don't have to go into a restroom to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, also, we're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I welcome you back to the States.
Um,
Go ahead.
is it Max that's writing the emails about
Uh,
the volunteer?
yeah. Yeah. Max is.
Is Max? Okay. I didn't want Max to feel ignored. I really didn't, because I was like listening to you read the email, and I can feel the anxiety and the frustration. Just like, I want to do something. We have to do something. Nobody's doing anything. Somebody do something. Like, I was getting that anxiety from the email,
Right.
and my advice, I'm having to learn how to have like a balance, because when I travel, I still work. I just work remotely, and I have like
Yeah.
other stuff going on. So I wouldn't want to do something and like half-ass it.
Right.
But I do have some suggestions though.
Go ahead.
One of the suggestions that I have is like, instead of sending Google an email, ask Boomer to like, hey, can I do a YouTube live with you one night? And or not even a
Absolutely.
YouTube live, a TikTok live. And there's like so many
Absolutely.
people in the audience that's willing to be like, hey, that sounds good. That's something we could do. Like I got a ton of, I'm not even on TikTok like that. I only have the app so I can do lives with you. But I got like all
Right.
these different friend requests and all this stuff. And I wasn't even on there that long. But the people like in the chat, they were like very helpful, all these ideas and all that other kind of stuff. And then the other thing too would be it's gonna be hard, but you gotta put yourself out there. If there's
You
like
kind of
a
do.
yeah, if there's a neighborhood app in like in your area, you can like go on that app. There's drama on there because over here on our app they talk about people who don't pull their trash cans up and all that stuff. But anyway, you'll find like like-minded people in your community that may be volunteering somewhere, and you can get exposed to other people who have that particular skill set in organizing. Um, you can knock on doors in your neighborhood as well, but you have to put yourself out there in order for that to happen. And like if you want to do a TikTok live or something and you're nervous, I'll come up there and do it with you. Or if you want to do
Yeah,
a podcast,
absolutely.
I'll sit up here and like and do it with you. But you and then they have like community events. You know how they have those like town halls and city council meetings and all of that type of stuff. Go to a city council meeting and then like just start talking with different people. There's Democrats there that feel just as frustrated as you are, and there's people that's willing to help. Like I feel bad if you're disappointed that like I'm a little spread too thin right now, so I can't do it. But you could do it. I think Boomer said it in a more harsh way than I just did.
I
You
did.
have to figure this
Well,
out. That's not what I do. But
well,
put
that's
yourself out
that,
there
that.
and you can make progress. Like I was literally like knocking on doors, like every house in this neighborhood, we were knocking on these doors like, hey, it's going to be a struggle. We're trying to build a community where we can support each other, help with the children. We got these seniors. Some people was on board, some people wasn't. City council meetings, though, is a really, really great place. Hop on a TikTok live, say, hey, this is my area, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm trying to do. Send me a follow, and people will like DM you like that, and they'll be more than willing to help you. And
Well,
that's my
I was harsh about it because I do get that from time to time, where people will say, "Well, you're doing this on TikTok, so why don't you take this job on?" And you understand that I'm retired, and you what you need to do is whatever you can do, even if it seems small to you. I mean, the whole reason I started doing TikTok is because I felt like I had to do something, but the only thing I knew how to do was talk. So when I started TikTok, I had no followers. I just kept doing it and doing it, doing it, and the followers came. That doesn't
yeah,
make me any genius. That doesn't make me an administrator. I can't do any of the things that Old Soul does. I can do what I can do. If you've got a group you want to promote and I think it's legitimate, I'll help you do that. But to get me to run an organization or be involved in an organization or talk you into being involved in an organization, that's not what I do. I wish I could do all those things, but I can't. So we need to find people who can, and that's what, like you say, a TikTok live or the podcast is good for. We got a lot of people we can go to, and somebody might say, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
yeah.
help doing what I can do," but that's all I can do.
Yeah, you're a great resource. Like you don't have to like give out your email or address or anything like that because you never know who is like in the audience. But just
Right.
say this is my area, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm trying to do. If you have any experience in this area or any ways that you can help out, send me a DM. And they'll DM you with their ideas, and you can move on from there. I think the hardest part, Max, is going to be putting yourself out there. I'm not like a shy type of person. I'll go knock on somebody's door in a minute. I don't care. But I know it's not that easy for everybody. So if you don't want to do it in person, I think Boomer is a good resource. Hey, can I come on your TikTok live and say what I'm trying to do? And maybe some people in my area could send me a DM and I can kind of start building like that. Even if you don't want to be in charge of it and you just want to, be supportive and kind of play your supporting role in the background, you can do that as well. But you're not going to know who the leader is until you say, hey, I need somebody to like take charge of what I'm trying to do, or I got this plan that I want to
Right.
do in my area, and just have some people send you a DM, and then and go from there. But I think the hardest part will be putting yourself out there. But once you do it, you'll be okay. Ask
Well,
Deb.
and you can take
She's
a
always been
lesson
Eric's
from
side. And Deborah's, she's my friend. She's that one that's always telling Nancy Pelosi to go sit on a cactus or a candlestick.
right.
Yeah, she didn't used to be like that until I told Eric this too. She was not like that until she started watching you and Eric. This woman was not like that at all. And now she's like, go sit on a cactus. You can put a
Well,
candlestick.
kid.
Like, she even swearing. This woman lives in Utah, okay? So it's just kind of like, it took her a minute, but once she got comfortable, she does things like to help girls in churches and stuff in Utah. It took her a minute to get there, but once she put herself out there, she's like flying, like running miles ahead of me just from listening to you and Eric, because you guys are both like, resources for her. And Eric is very calm and with his facts and all that other kind of stuff. So, you know,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I
that's
think
all I'm
I
saying,
think
Max. I don't want you to think I was ignoring you, or I didn't want Boomer to have the last word on that. You was,
okay. Yeah, smooth it over. Well, you can take a page from Old Soul and kind of me when I was in business. I was never the one that wanted to run anything.
mm,
Um, but if you have the ability to pull people from different areas that have different expertises and pull them together, that's where you're going to be strong. That's what Old Soul's done in her neighborhood with elderly people watching young kids and getting people food and sharing things and putting things together. That's how you get really strong, is by pulling people together.
yes.
I can do
I
that to a
couldn't do
certain
nothing.
extent,
We
but
couldn't do anything without our seniors, in particular Pat, because she has everybody's schedules and stuff. Everybody know where they're supposed to be, on what days they're supposed to be at the bus stop for the older kids, what days they're supposed to help the younger kids with their homework. She already has like events planned for them for like the next 90 days. Like they're going to like the fire station. They got something going on there. They're like baking cookies and taking it to the police station for the canine dogs. It's like some kind of program they got. I don't know. The older kids, they're taking like a CPR class. She's trying to find somebody to teach them Spanish. Like, I can't do stuff like that, but I was able to like get this group of people together, and they are just like own
and
it,
they'll
own it.
take off. Yeah, they'll take off.
Yeah.
And that's what you kind of need to do, is pull people together. And the only way you pull people together is put yourself out there, like Old Soul says. And I'm not talking about coming on TikTok and doing what I do. I don't mind doing this because I'm used to it, but you've got to go out and go to places like the comments in this podcast or on the TikTok thing, and see people who make comments, and then reach out to them and say, this is what I'm trying to do. Does this resonate with you? And pull people together. That's really the way to get things done.
Yeah, and if you want me to join you on a live or a podcast or whatever, just let Boomer know, and I will show up for you for that. But taking on something else to organize, I cannot do that right now, because we do have to hit the road again with the nuns to try to get
Yeah.
birth control for these young girls. We have a doctor that's being sued right now for sending Plan B pills to Texas, but that's a whole nother situation. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Old Soul, thank you for coming on. It's good to have you back in the States, safe and sound. And we'll probably do another live and have you out there, and then we'll have you on the show again. People like to hear what you're doing and your insights about what's going on. So thank you very much for showing up today.
thank you. You got this, Max.
All right. Those of you listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.